Good morning, good morning, good morning. Speak on this show with your boy R.W. Coolins, episode 21. Let's go. Give me them horns. Good morning, Maurice Wigfall. Good morning. Thank you for the support, my brother. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome again to the Speak on the Show. I am your boy, R.W. Coolins, episode 21. Oh, it's a good morning, y'all. It's a good morning when you wake up on this side of the living. It's a good morning when you wake up on this side of the living. You know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying? Good morning, Michelle Long. Good morning. Thank you for the support. It's a good morning when you wake up, y'all. A lot of us take it for granted. A lot of us take it for granted. But the blessing to be able to wake up every morning with a sound mind, roof over your head, all the things you can think of that we take for granted. It's a good morning when you can wake up and enjoy and take that air in and know that you're here to push through another day by the blessings of God. Amen, amen, amen. Good morning, sis. Good morning, sis. Appreciate the support. Let's get these formalities out the way so we can jump on into this. Follow me, rwcoolins.com. That's the website. You can go there, get all the information you want, all the information you need. You can all the social media sites are there, YouTube, Facebook. Spreaker.com is where you can listen to the audio shows if you just want to hear the audio and not see all this, if you just want to hear the audio. Also, right now we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. If you have a comment, if you've seen, as you've seen me posting them up, bring them in and we'll post them up, put them on, and let everybody see what we're talking about, join in the conversation. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. Say what you mean what you say. Merchandise. I had somebody ask me yesterday about the t-shirt sales. Well, the t-shirt sales have been very minimal. Very minimal. And when I say minimal, I mean minimal. But hey, if you want to buy a t-shirt, buy a t-shirt. I don't press nobody to do. You do what you want to do. If you want to do it, I'm not saying it just gives me the means to put back into the show so we can have better quality of things as we go along with the show. So the merchandise is there. I will be posting here shortly some long sleeve shirts as well. They're all short sleeve right now, but I'm gonna get some long sleeve ones out there as well. Call in number 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. Call in. If you want everybody to hear what you got to say, go ahead and call in. Hey, we come in as friends, we leave as friends. That's what we do here on the Speak on It show. It's no dumb question. I just might give you a dumb answer because that just might be what it is at the time when I get it. Maurice Wigfall, we have a history making weekend upon the U.S. All right. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But yeah, like I said, call in 844-904-2665. You got something to say, and then we'll continue to take it from there. So right before I came on, I was on the internet a little bit, and I seen that iconic actor Sean Connery, the original 007, James Bond, passed away early this morning, late last night, something like that. He had been sick, they said, but when I seen that, it just opened my eyes that a lot of our iconic figures that we see, that we grew up on, my age bracket, anyway, that we grew up on, that we kind of seen in these roles, they're leaving us. He was 90 years old. So, you don't want to see anybody leave the face of this earth, but we all have a time. But I seen that this morning, so we rested, send prayers out to his family and everything about his passing. But yeah, 007, iconic actor, iconic role, which is what he's most known for by most people, with that accent, that smooth accent. I wish I had an accent, but I'm not even gonna try that this morning. So here we go. Truth Tuesday. Truth Tuesday. Truth Tuesday. Now, we've been counting this down for a long time. I think we've been counting this down since the first episode that I started back up. So we in episode 21. So for about 21, 22, 24, however many weeks we've been doing this, even though it's only 21 shows, we've been talking about the voting. But let me give you some numbers real quick about the voting. If you haven't voted already, hey, make sure you get out there, do your due diligence. You got Tuesday. That's it. I would suggest, let me give you these numbers and then I'm going to give you some suggestions. As of Friday, 86.8 million people have already voted. 86.8 million people have already voted. That's 63% of the total from 2016. So it's looking good as far as the voting. It's looking good as far as voting. People are getting out there and everything. And now I've seen some reports where certain cities, they're not getting the numbers that they thought they would get. Like I think it was Dade County, Miami-Dade County, and also Philadelphia. In the Philadelphia area, they're not seeing the black vote like they thought they would. So if you're in those areas, make sure you get out. Don't wait till the last minute, because it's probably going to be chaos. But also projections of 150 to 160 million people are what they're projecting to vote for 2020. 150 to 160 million people is what they're projecting. Good morning, cuz. Appreciate the support. Good morning, Kenya. Appreciate the support. So we're halfway there as far as who's voted already. 86.8 million have already voted. They're projecting 150 to 160 million. So right now we're halfway there. It's a good sign. It's a good sign that people are getting out there, no matter who you're voting for. Let me just be real. Whoever you're voting for, use the process for what it is meant for, to let your voice be heard. No matter which direction you're voting on. I mean, hey, you got your own. Well, we'll get into that a little later. Let me leave that alone. At this point, Texas has already had more people vote than in 2016. Texas has already had more people vote than voted in 2016. At this point, today is Saturday. The election's on Tuesday, election day. That's 3 days away. Don't mail your ballot. Don't you put that in the mail. Don't you? We've been talking about this a long time. And a lot of you had these, well, let me talk to those procrastinators out there, because let's be real right here. If you still have your ballot and you're talking about sending them by mail, you've already failed yourself. The postal system, with all the discrepancies they've been talking about, before now, but I'm going to give you something that I seen last night, that there's a post office in Florida that had piles and piles of mail-in ballots that are just sitting there that haven't been taken to the polling stations where they're supposed to go. Now, if you have all these ballots that have been turned in and haven't been taken to where they're going, what does that say? It says that most of those people who decided to mail their ballots in, your vote may not be counted. We've been talking about this over and over again. When you've seen them taking down these machines at the post office and things like that, and you still decided to mail your vote in. Now, don't get me wrong. Let me back up. Let me back up for a minute, because I've seen some people who did mail their ballots in and they got a notification that said their ballot was received. I'm cool with that. But if you waiting until right now, and let me say that again. If you wait until right now to send your ballot in, shame on you. Shame on you. You weren't serious about voting for this election if you waited until now. But I would suggest, rather than mailing it in, you take it to the polling station and drop it off. Not one of the drop boxes, to a polling station where you actually go in there and push the buttons. And while you're there, if the line ain't long, go on and push the buttons, turn your ballot in, because what they'll do is they'll ask you, do you have your mail-in ballot? If you have it, turn it in so you're not voting twice. Don't drop it in the box and then try to get in line and vote. You go to jail for that, just to be honest. So if you have your mail-in ballot that you were going to mail, do not put no stamps on it. Carry it to a polling station. If you feel comfortable, take it to a drop box, but do not put it in the postal system. Right now, yesterday, it's been going on for a minute, Judge Emmett Sullivan told the post office to take even more steps so absentee ballots will be on time. So they had this court case going on, and Judge Emmett Sullivan, and I want to bring this name up. Do y'all know who Judge Emmett Sullivan is? A lot of you don't. I'm going to tell you who he is. Judge Emmett Sullivan is the judge in the DC Circuit Court who they tried to get to drop the charges against Michael Flynn. Y'all remember Michael Flynn, who was supposed to be national security advisor when the Trump administration first started, and he was the one that, they caught communicating with the Russians, told them don't do anything with the sanctions that Obama put in place. I know I'm rehashing some things for those y'all that don't know. Judge Emmett Sullivan is the one that held Michael Flynn's feet to the fire, and he's also the one that refused to take away the guilty pleas that he pleaded twice on, and make him stand trial. And now they're in the sentencing phase, and they're going back and forth. But right now, he is the one overseeing this fiasco with the post office and telling them that they need to take more steps to make sure that absentee ballots are on time. I appreciate Judge Emmett Sullivan, not only for what he's doing with the post office right now, but for how he did with the Michael Flynn case. Just because you know somebody doesn't mean you should be able to get off from a crime you committed, especially after you've already pleaded guilty twice. He pleaded guilty twice, and the Justice Department jumped in, and Judge Sullivan said, no, not in my courtroom. I appreciate that. And then Judge Sullivan also told us that they need to come up with a plan for the next 4 days, from today or from yesterday all the way up through Election Day. They need to come up with a plan. This morning, right now, matter of fact, 10 o'clock this morning, Eastern time, he had set a hearing for them to come in so they could come up with a plan between them and the people who put in the lawsuit to figure out how they're going to go about getting these votes, these mail-in ballots, to the proper people so they can be counted before Election Day, or be in the hands of them for Election Day, because there's a date and a time that they have to be in the election people's hands. And right now, it doesn't look like the post office is going to make that. So if you have a ballot, say it one more time, if you have a ballot, do not mail it in. Carry it to the place. And depending on how things work out today, he plans to set a court order if needed to let them know this is what you will do in order to make sure these ballots are turned in. So I appreciate him. Now let's talk about Election Day. Now I've heard and read some things about, they're in DC boarding up windows and businesses and different things like that. You would think that there's a riot or a hurricane or something coming through. And I will tell you, with the state that we're in, the atmosphere that we have right now, I think everyone needs to be aware of their surroundings, as I've always said, and I've said this many times, but on Election Day, please, if you don't have to go anywhere other than work, stay your ass home. Because, and I'm not trying to put any fear in anybody about what's going to happen or anything's going to happen, but the thought of the way things went with the governor in Michigan, the things that went on in Kenosha, Wisconsin, all the things that have gone on during protests, and I'm going to get into some protests that happened this week for officer killing. But those things and the things around it, things that surround it, because you don't know where these people's mindsets are with this voter intimidation and things like that on Election Day. Because from what they're saying, if there's only 86.8 million that have voted already, and we still got those ballots, mail-in ballots still hanging out there, we don't know how many people still need to physically go to the polls. So if you're going to the polls, be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Be careful as you're going to the polls. I seen something where they arrested somebody, and I couldn't get the whole scoop of it, but they arrested somebody who had a plan to blow up a polling station. To blow up a polling station. So when you see these things, you have to be aware that there's people out there that just have bad intentions because they're not feeling that what they want is what is coming to fruition. I just don't understand the mindset. I don't understand why, but do your due diligence. Be safe out there. Do not take it for granted that everything is going to be safe on election day. If you ain't got to go out, if you don't have to go out, don't go out. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Election day, Truth Tuesday. Let's go. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Now, see, I say this because, you know, people get kind of cocky in times. People get kind of, you know, they get out there on that limb and they feel comfortable about saying certain things out their mouth that they know they shouldn't say, but they get comfortable, and people have made them comfortable because they got into this little thing where if they meet with somebody, they feel like they got street cred or something to that extent. And I'm talking about Jared Kushner right now. Jared Kushner, you know, he's met with the, you know, Van Joneses, and I think he met with Kanye West and Ice Cube. I think Ice Cube may have been in that meeting with him as well, but he's also, you know, and then you got Donald Trump just this week met Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne went to the White House. He had 50 Cent talking about he was going to vote for Trump because he didn't want to pay the taxes, all these different things. And so this administration thinks they can just say freely and with license what they want to say when it comes to us, because they've met with some of us. You know, that platinum plan that I talked about and things like that. But let me tell you why I'm talking about Jared Kushner. This is what he said the other day. One thing we've seen in a lot of the Black community, which is mostly Democrat, is that President Trump's policies are the policies that can help people break out of the problems that they're complaining about. But he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. He can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. Now, I don't know Jared Kushner, just like I don't know Donald Trump. But what I do know is what they report. And what I do know is these are two men who inherited wealth. They didn't earn the wealth. They didn't go out there and bust their ass to gain their wealth. It was generational wealth, inherited wealth. They're known as slumlords. They were known as doing redlining in our community. They're known to stand on and use white privilege. They practice nepotism. They're out of touch. And the wealth they have, as I said, was not something that they went out here and earned hard working and became successful. It was inherited. It was given to them. But for him to make this comment, and I fault, and you can take it how you want, but I fault all those people that I just talked about who have gone to that White House, who have sat with Donald Trump and have not held him accountable for the things that he said towards our people up to this point. And when I say our people, I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about Black people, but I'm also talking about people of color across the board. Shithole countries, the Mexicans are going to bring the rapists, you know, and all these different things that he said through his tenure. These are the things that give him license to say these things, is because we have people who choose to go meet with him, choose to go talk with him, and then they try to put it as a label that those folks that go talk to him speak for all of us. So they get comfortable. They get so comfortable that they say things like this, and people, oh yeah, they need to do what they need to do to be successful. They need, you know, they don't need a hand up. They need to just do the affirmative action is bullshit. This, that, and all these different things that you can think of that they say. But these meetings that these people go to with these people that they know have these backgrounds gives them a certain feeling that they have license to say things like this. And then what do we do with those people who do this? We call them out in the wrong way. Call them sellouts, Uncle Toms. No, that's not how you call them out. What you do is you stop supporting their albums, stop supporting what they do. Because here's the thing. Most of the people that we're talking about that go up here and meet with this administration, who feel that they speak for all of us, are entertainers, rappers, and they have money. And because they have money, they feel that they have an invitation to go up here and talk to this administration, and that this administration is going to listen to them and then put them on Front Street to show that, hey, he's supporting me. How come you don't? You support him. You're a fan of his. You buy his albums. You watch his movies. If you do that for him, support me. Because he's supporting me by coming up here and we're taking a photo out. 50 Cent. You see, he retracted. He pulled back on what he said as far as he was going to lead the country and he was going to vote for Donald Trump. But I'm going to bring something up, and some people might find this a little confrontational, but I don't care at this point, because 50 Cent stood up there and said that he was going to vote for President Trump simply because of the taxes. Simply because of the taxes. And no matter what anybody of color said to him, no matter how they told him he was wrong, he stood on the fact that he was going to vote for him because of taxes. And he said, if Joe Biden wins, he's leaving the country. And it took one person to make him backtrack on everything he said. Wasn't a black woman. Wasn't his mom. Well, I think his mom passed, but it wasn't any of them. Wasn't anybody that's close to him, anybody in his clique or the people that follow. It was Chelsea Handler. Chelsea Handler, someone who he used to date, who is a comedian, that jumped on him and told him, she said something to the quote of, you used to be my favorite boyfriend, but when you're acting like this and everything. And then he came back and retracted everything he said because she spoke out. No matter all the people who have bought his albums, all the people that have supported him, all the people that, have stood by him and all his album sales and all the things he was going through and supporting him with his liquors and his power, the show on Showtime, all the support he was getting from the community. Let me concentrate on the community. And I don't think anybody I'm being racist here, but you got to think about what I'm saying. It took his ex-white girlfriend to pull him back for him to start speaking differently than he was when he said what he had to say. Now, some people will say, well, maybe she just has that influence on me. Yeah, but let's look at the opticals of this. What was he going to say to her? What was he going to say to her? Because she called him out. What was he going to say? You notice he didn't respond to her. He never responded to her. But he always responds and trolls anybody else who has something to say about him. But he didn't respond and troll her. Ja Rule don't even have he don't even have a career no more because of 50 Cent. Other folks in the industry don't have careers because of 50 Cent, because they go back and forth. But when she spoke and said what she said, he shut up. He shut up. I'm not telling you it's a racial thing. I ain't saying it that way. What I'm saying is the simple fact that it took a white woman to make a black man realize that what he's saying was wrong, and he shut up. But all these black women out here who supported him with album sales and watching Power, 50 Cent and all this kind of stuff, he didn't give a damn about y'all. He didn't give a damn about y'all. Good morning, Big L. He didn't give a damn about y'all. These are the things that you got to pay attention to. It's not what's said, it's how the reactions are after what is being said is truly, truly said. Truth Tuesday, y'all. Truth Tuesday. Make sure you get out there. Make sure you get out there. I just, when I seen Lil Wayne the other day at the White House, first of all, it was hard to me to look at the picture because I don't like looking at him or Donald Trump. I'm just going to be honest. The visuals for me just threw everything off. Understand there? That thumb up thing. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway. But here's where another part of me, it bothers me. Because they put these people out here who are actors, entertainers, that support. Good morning, brother Avery. Brother Hoodie. Good morning, bro. But they put these entertainers out there who support whatever he's putting down. But you never heard anybody, as long as they're supporting Donald Trump, tell an entertainer, rapper, athlete, any of them to shut up and dribble like they did LeBron James, like they did the NBA players when they took a knee and different things like that, the NFL players when they were taking the knee, Kaepernick when he was doing what he was doing, because those black men were less than because they didn't support what he was putting down. But the black men who support what he's putting down, they put out in front of a camera, they take pictures as a photo op, and they use them as try to motivate us to get behind them because we may be fans of theirs. Right is right, wrong is wrong. You've heard me say it many times. I understand people and the tax thing. I get it. We earn a lot of money. We want to keep a lot of money. But the tax cuts that came out under this administration that took care of the wealthy, just like right now, we're in this pandemic. We still got people that aren't getting unemployment. That never came down with the stimulus. You're coming up on the moratorium, the end to the moratorium to start evicting people and start putting people out of apartments and foreclosures and things like that. But they can't come to a decision on that. But we can get photo ops with people of color to stand up there with their thumbs up like everything's okay, and they speak for the whole community. Well, let me tell you something. They're not speaking for the man out here who's sitting at his dinner table, as they always like to say in politics. He's sitting at the supper table trying to figure out how he's going to pay these bills. They're not thinking about him. They're not thinking about the guy who goes to work every day, putting himself at risk because he's an essential employee during this time of this pandemic. You know, and he's going to go, and if he catches anything or if he gets quarantined for 14 days and that money's not coming in, how he's going to pay his bills. They're not thinking about the woman who's doing the nursing in the nursing home or anything like that, who's interacting with people on a daily basis who could infect her with the COVID-19. They're not thinking about all those people. They're thinking about their checking account, their banking account, their family members, because they can afford to pay for the health care for their family members. They're not worried about you. And I will tell you this is something that we need to really look at and understand. When we support these people, when we support these entertainers, athletes, or whoever of the like, when we go out there and we support their movies, you need to think about, are you supporting the man, the woman, or their God-given ability? And then you have to think, do you weed out whether you support them or not by what their beliefs are and who they support? Because when it came to the marches and the George Floyd's death and all these different things, Kenosha, Wisconsin, I didn't see or hear anything from Lil Wayne. I didn't hear anything from 50 Cent. I didn't hear anything from those people. The ones that have gone up there with the thumbs up. I didn't hear anything from them. But the ones I heard from were the athletes who took a knee in the NFL and the NBA and the WNBA and all the different athletes that stood tall during those things to say, we're tired of seeing this. We heard about them and they were pushed off to the side and told them, stay away from politics and stick to what you do. That's the different dichotomy of where our society is right now. If it's right for me and they're on my side, I support them 100%. But if not, shut up and dribble. Do your job, stay out of politics. That only comes into play, though, when you have people of color who voice their opinions about politics. You got Donald Trump Jr., who is just a son. He is a son of the president out here voicing his opinion on a daily basis that is not even a part of the administration. He's just the son of the president, and he's voicing his opinion about different things, and nobody's telling him to shut up. They're actually putting him on TV for interviews. Why? He's not important. He's not even part of the administration. He is a child of the president. Why are they interviewing him? Because not who he is, but what he looks like and what he stands for. That's it. And then you see these guys parading across, and if you think back when President Trump first got in office, got elected, and Steve Harvey went to Trump Tower in New York. And we tore Steve Harvey down because he met with him. And then he stood there like he didn't know what was going on or what they talked about. What they talked about was not what they distributed out and all that kind of stuff. It was a photo op out there. And then Steve Harvey, after all the backlash, After he stood on the principle talking about I'll meet who I want to meet and all this kind of stuff, and then as time going on, he kind of trickled back to change his narrative to, oh, President Trump ain't this, he ain't that. But you met with him in the beginning. Now, I understand people change, but you also have to ask yourself sometimes, what was his intentions in the beginning before the backlash after the fact? Now, I know my sister out there talking smack because she's a Steve Harvey fan. Well, you talk all the smack you want. I ain't a fan, never have been a fan. But at the end of the day, what were his intentions when he first went to the meeting? Knowing who this person is and his background. Why go meet with him? And then try to throw a lie in there and say that the President Obama told him to meet with him. Y'all know damn well President Obama ain't tell him to go let damn Trump out. Come on. Come on. You know, Beijing Barry ain't do that. Ain't that what he said Trump would call him if he had a checking account in China? Beijing Barry? Ain't that what they be calling him if he had one? That's the differences in the mentality and in the things we do. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Walter Wallace Jr. protests. I'm sure everybody is aware. 27-year-old Walter Wallace Jr., Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was shot by police as they responded to a report of a person with a knife. Now, the family called the police, but they actually called. Yeah, I knew you'd be laughing about that, sis. But they actually called because he has mental issues. He has mental health issues. And they called the ambulance, but the cops showed up. He had a knife. His mother was out there. She was trying to talk him into putting the knife down. And, you know, if anybody's seen the video, you know, he went around the car. They said he lunged at the cops and the cops shot him, killed him. The families met with them. They watched the video and everything. And the family is not, they're upset, but they're not upset because they knew he had mental health issues. They understand that the cops were doing what they're supposed to do. My biggest thing is it's why it hasn't become a big thing, but the protests are still going on to this day. And it happened on Monday, I think it was. When we talk about defunding the police, this is part of what we talk about. This is the part that people don't want to talk about. The defunding of the police is not taking police away. It's giving more money, taking money away from the police departments and giving it to mental health experts to be embedded with the police department. So when you have situations like this, they can try to, with their mental health background, talk to the people who are out here with the knives because they're going through an episode. And let me caveat real quick. Last week, I watched David Letterman. My next guest needs no introduction. I think it is. It's on Netflix. And as everybody knows, I'm not a Kanye West fan at all. But he was on, and I said, you know what? Let me watch this. And what I found out was, with his mental health bipolar issues that he has, he talked about a lot of things on that show, and it really made me look at things differently when I judge him. Because, you know, we all judge, and I ain't gonna lie, I judge him. But I sat there and I watched and I listened to what he had to say, and I listened to hear, not to judge. Let me say that again. I listened to hear, not to judge. So when I listened to the conversation he was having with David Letterman, he was talking about his medication he has to take and the bipolar disorder he has and everything, and how, you know, you can ramp up from 0 to 60 like this with this disease that he has with being bipolar. I don't know anything about it, so I listened. But it made me really understand, and not in depth, but I really understood some of the things on why he does what he does. Now, I'm not giving him license to do the things that he does just because he's bipolar. Never. But it gave me more understanding of why he acts the way he acts when he has his episodes, when he's not taking his medication, and he's not doing the things he needs to do. I would recommend people go watch it just to get an understanding. You may not like Kanye West, or you may like him. I don't know. But I think it's a good conversation that we all need to hear and understand, because as I mentioned before in one of the episodes I did before, when we talk about mental health, the first thing we want to do when we see people like, you know, Walter Wallace or Kanye West or anyone else that we know has mental issues, first thing we want to do is put the label of crazy on them. without understanding the root cause of the issue. And now I'll go back to Walter Wallace Jr. So the family already knew that he had these mental conditions. So they called the ambulance, the cops show up. It turned out bad. He ended up getting killed. Now, I'm not comfortable with the fact that they drew guns first. Problem with them drawing guns first because they didn't have tasers. Why? I don't know. I don't run the police department up there. But that's the first question we asked. Why didn't they tase them? Well, they didn't have tasers. They don't carry them in Philadelphia. Or maybe they didn't have them at that time. I don't know all the details, but this is what I got out of it. So since Monday, they've had massive protests in the streets. We see it reported on the news cycle over and over again. They're protesting in Philly. They're protesting in Philly. They're tearing up stuff. They're burning stuff down. They're tearing up cop cars. We're hearing all this kind of stuff. But let me tell you something that you didn't hear about. Some of you may not have. But this is why I tell you, when it comes to election day, be careful. Now, there was 2 individuals that were arrested for having weapons of mass destruction at the protests. Their names are Brian LaRue and Eric Murray. And they were near a place called Logan Square in a van close to the protest. In the van, they were doing some suspicious stuff. So the cops followed them, everything, pulled them over, and then they inspected the van. In the van, they found a propane tank, a torch, dynamite, tasers, electric drills, bolt cutters, and machetes, all in the van. All in the van in the area of the protests. They did a home search on one of the individuals. They found 26 additional illegal explosive devices and 2 12-gauge shotguns. These are all the things that these 2 individuals had. They had, and what all these tools were is they had tools that are used to dismantle and steal from ATM machines. So this is what they were doing. They were stealing from ATM machines. There were 30 ATM bombings in the city over the last 4 days as of yesterday that these people were involved in with what they had in this van that nobody knew that they had in this van until they did something wrong and the cops decided to pull them over. Now, let me shed some light on this. When I say all this about the dynamite and everything, and they were stealing ATMs, until I told you about the ATMs and them stealing ATMs, and you talk about the dynamite and everything like that, you would think that these were not people of color. But I'm here to tell you today that these were 2 African-American men in this van with all this weapons of mass destruction is what they call it. And that's another conversation for another day on why they're being charged with weapons of mass destruction. Maybe because they have dynamite. I don't know. But we see people walking around with guns on the streets, open carry and everything. But let me digress. I'm sorry. But these were 2 African-American males that had all these things in their van. And when I first read the article, before I pulled up their pictures to see who they were, when I first was reading this article and I seen dynamite, I was like, oh, no. Because, there was a comedian one time said, dynamite, who they going to buy it from? You selling dynamite to a brother, people going to be suspicious. Well, they had dynamite. So that was the mentality that I had. But it's no different than when we had the DC shooter. Nobody thought that was African Americans, but they were. So when you hear these stories, you can't automatically judge. You need to do your research and find out who they are. But as I'm saying, I found out who these guys are, and they were in the areas of the protest. So my first mindset was that they were there with this stuff in this van to do harm to the protesters. But find out they were stealing and robbing ATMs. It still goes back to what I just said about the voting on election day. You don't know what people's intentions are when they come around and you're in these crowds and you're standing out there to vote, safely is where you think you're at, and what people may have in their vehicles and their vans and different things like that may choose or want to do harm to people who are practicing their right of voting. If you have people like this that will be in the middle of a protest doing these things, like you've seen them infiltrate these other people, the militias infiltrate these protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and things like that, do not think for 1 minute that something like this may not happen. Don't get me wrong. I pray that it doesn't, but something like this could not happen on election day at a polling location. We need to be very vigilant. We need to make sure we check our surroundings. We need to make sure we know what's going on, which is why when it comes to these protests and things like that, I'm very hesitant to go out there and participate a lot of times because of the things that are going on out there. And you don't know what people's intentions are. Be vigilant, people. Be vigilant, be vigilant, be vigilant. Walter Wallace Jr., hey, to his family, we send our prayers and condolences. You know, mental health, y'all, it's a big issue. And I won't say it's a big issue, but it's something that's affecting us silently. It's something that's affecting our community and the other communities silently. And no one is coming up with a plan on how to get it under control, how to help those that need it, especially when you're talking about getting rid of, the Affordable Care Act for those who can't afford it. Because if that goes away, most of the people that are getting help now won't be getting help after the fact. Just something to think about, just something to keep in your mental Rolodex. We just got a lot going on, y'all. A lot going on. The takeover. Now, this some of y'all gonna find this funny. Some of y'all gonna be laughing at me. I don't care. I'm gonna be real as real can be right now. And let's start off with this. I'm watching the news the other night. I'm watching the news the other night. And in New York City, they showed a man standing out on the sidewalk. He came out of a store, standing on the sidewalk, and a sinkhole opened up and he fell down in the sinkhole. They were talking about it. They were reporting the sinkhole and everything like that. I'm listening. I'm like, damn, sinkhole just opened up in New York City like that on the sidewalk. But then they went into detail. They started talking to his brother. They were interviewing his brother. This is where it got a little sketchy for me, y'all. I'm just saying it got sketchy for me because of who I am and what I deal with as far as one of my phobias. His brother said when the sinkhole opened up, he fell, he hit his head and it scraped up his face from the sidewalk where he fell through at. That ain't what got me. They said he was in the hole and he couldn't move. He was laying on his back. They said he looked down in the hole and there was hundreds and hundreds of rats. Hundreds and hundreds of rats, y'all. Now, anybody that don't know R.W. Coolins, let me give you a little something. When it come to rodents, I can't do them, y'all. If I seen a rodent right now in my house, right now, I'd be packing up to move. You laugh if you want to. I'm moving. I'll put down glue boards, spraying stuff, and I'm gonna get into some of the remedies because I got another story I want to tell you. But they said he was down in that hole on his back, could not move. Took them 20 minutes to get him out, and all those rats were crawling all over him. Now, here's the kicker. His brother said that he couldn't yell out for help or scream because he was worried about one of the rats running into his mouth. Oh, damn. Come on, y'all. Come on. Let me tell y'all something. If that had been me, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. Lord Jesus, take the wheel. He'd have had to take the wheel that day. I can't do it. I don't care if it's this small or that big. I can't do it. I got so many stories about my phobia with rats, but I'm not gonna get into all of them. But let me move on to something else. So the other day, I seen that this week. Last week, my boy OT was in town. He came out to visit me. Me and OT sat down, broke some bread, had conversation and everything. Good morning, L. Harwell. Broke some bread and everything, had conversation. He was staying at the Paris Hotel downtown. So he left that night, which was Thursday night, I think, or Friday night. I can't. One of the night he left. Anyway. But the Paris Hotel came up on the news while I'm watching it and said they had a power outage. So he sent me a text and said, hey, power's out at the Paris. So I'm thinking, generator or something like that or whatever. So he ended up leaving from the Paris Hotel, headed on back to LA. I didn't see anything else on the news till the next day. Because remember, I told you, he told me that the power was out when he got back to the hotel. So the next day I'm watching the news. And here we go again. They said the reason that they had a power outage was because the rodents ate through the wires. Because they're looking for food, because there's not a lot of activity on the strip right now as far as them being able to find food, from the trash and things like that. So they ate through the wires, and they said it's a problem. Now here's where my problem comes in again, y'all. They say it's a problem right now that there's a lot of them, and they're overtaking certain areas, and they're spreading out to the housing areas. I ain't gonna make it, y'all. I'm just being real with you. I'm not gonna make it. They said they're coming out to the housing areas. So now me, being who I am, and my phobia, I'm going on the defense. I have a pool, not to brag, but I'm just saying I have a pool and I have palm trees. Two things that attract rodents. So now I got to get on my grind. So let me give you a little story about this here. So I went to Lowe's the other day. I was picking up some little stuff. So I said, hey, let's head back here to the insect repellent and all that kind of stuff. See if they got anything for this type of stuff to prevent them from coming in the yard, at least. I ain't getting it. Once they in the house, they own this house. I'm just being real. They ain't got to pay the mortgage, but I'm not going to be here to do it. So anyway, so I'm in Lowe's and I'm looking for it, and I'm picking up glue boards to put out in the garage and stuff like that, because it's something I do. And, I bought this stuff. It's like a peppermint stuff that I seen on there. It said, it prevents rodents from coming around. So I'm spraying it around and everything. Well, I bought it. And I get up to the register, and there's a woman at the register, nice young lady. And she says to me, oh, you got spray? What kind of rodents you got? I said, I ain't got none right now, and I'm trying not to have any. She said, oh, no, you don't need that. I said, well, what do I need? She said, and this is what she said. She said she used to work at like I don't know, some kind of a hunting type store or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, she told me, you need to go online and Google fox urine. Fox urine. I said, you lying. She said, no. Google fox urine, because we used to sell it where she used to work. She said, Google fox urine, buy the fox urine, put it around your yard. You don't have nothing to worry about. I was like, okay. So I'm listening intently, because anything that you can tell me that's going to keep rodents away from R.W. Cooling's location of where he sleeps, I'm all on it. So I did some research. I started Googling. Do you know? Now I'm trying to help y'all. So if you need to prevent it, I'm just trying to help y'all out today. This is a public service announcement. If you need it, Google it. It's got the I think it's pellets that you can put down and stuff like this, but foxes prey on rodents, rabbits, different things like that. So if you put the fox urine down, because they sell it in a liquid, but they also sell it in pellets. But if you put it down, they smell it and they will not come around because they think the predator's in the area. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to buy about 12 bottles of fox urine. Now, I would not suggest anybody go out here and just arbitrarily buy piss. But I'm going to buy me some fox urine. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to prevent these rodents that took out the power at the Paris Hotel on the Strip to come all the way out here and be hanging out by my pool, drinking margaritas and just chilling. It's not going to happen on my watch. I got palm trees, they call them roof rats, because they come across the palm trees, get on the roof, come in your house. Not going to happen. I'm so paranoid. I asked to have my palm trees cut the other day because I'm paranoid, y'all. Y'all help me. Pray for me. Pray for me. It's a phobia of mine. And every time I think about that man in New York City, y'all probably had to lock me up. I wouldn't make it. But these are things that I go through. I just wanted to put that out and lighten it up a little bit, because we've been going on this voting and everything going on in the world. But this right here, when it comes to these rats, rodents, and mice and all this kind of stuff, let me tell y'all something. I'm not that dude. I am not that. You call me what you want, but I'm not that dude when it comes to rodents. And I have a Ring doorbell. So if you try to break in, I see you. But I have a Ring doorbell, Ring cameras and stuff like that. But here's the kicker. You get reports about things going on in your community and so far out and everything. Not only do I have to worry about the rats now and the rodents migrating out this way, we got coyotes running down the middle of the damn street. Coyotes running down the middle of the street. People talking about keep your pets locked up because they go after small pets and all this. What's going on, y'all? This COVID pandemic has caused these animals to go, they in disarray because the normal actions that we do that produce certain things are not being produced, and the animals have come from their normal environments, the mountains with the coyotes and things like that, looking for food on our watch. Wow. So now I got to worry about walking out the door in the morning and making sure I look to see if there's a coyote in the backyard, because I read they can scale a wall 8 feet high. They jump. Somebody had a video where one was in the backyard and they jumped 8 feet up on top of the wall, looked around, and then jumped down and kept on going. These are the things I'm dealing with here in Las Vegas. I don't know what you're dealing with where you at, but I guarantee this: I'm prepared. I'm going. Well, I'm not fully prepared, but I'm going to be prepared. I'm thinking about buying me a Rottweiler or a pit bull. I think a pit bull might be able to take out a coyote. I don't know, but I'm gonna do some research on that after we do this show today, because I'm scared, y'all. I'm scared. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. Not the rodents, not the coyotes. I can't do it. Excuse me. My body and soul. Let's get into something that's gonna touch your soul, because I need to get off that rodent thing, because it's just. Pray for me, y'all. That's all I can tell you. Pray for me. Please keep me in prayer. L. Harwell, my sister took a pic of a bobcat on a property in Florida. Oh, Lord. Bobcat. No. See, they doing too much. See, these animals doing too much. They doing too much. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh, my. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh, my. Good morning, Judy Mills. Good morning. Good morning. These animals, y'all, be aware, man. Be aware. You may not see them, but they out there lurking. They're lurking. They're lurking. My body and soul. If the words don't add up, it's usually because the truth wasn't included in the equation. If the words don't add up, it's usually because the truth wasn't included in the equation. You know, that quote I found, it kind of jumped out at me, because we, in this last 3.5 years, well, you might as well go back a little further, with this administration that's in office and when they were running for office, have put a lot of words, a lot of tall tales, a lot of, I'll call them ifisms, a lot of ifisms out there. If you do this, you'll get this. If you do this, you'll get this, all that. But it usually don't add up. What they're saying is lip service is not adding up to what they're doing behind the scenes and what they're doing for the masses. Most of us that I know of have already voted. Even those that haven't voted, they've already got their minds made up. When you talk about the truth and people being upfront with you, we hold our family members, we hold our closest friends, we hold those people that we consider to be close to us accountable for how they talk to us, how they treat us, what they tell us, and being truthful in what they say. But when the truth is not even part of the equation of what point you're trying to get across, it becomes hard for people to believe anything you say after the first lie. This administration, past administrations, have all sold us, fairy tales, how things are going to be better, how things are going to get better if you choose me. This election, this season, and what we've been dealing with for the last 3.5 years should have every one of us on notice. Should have every one of us understanding that we hope for change, we pray for change, but will it be the change that we desire, that we need, and that we want? Most of the times what we find out, and most of the times what we hang on, is the fact that that's what they said they were going to do, and we're going to hold them accountable to do it. But we continue voting them in over and over and over again. This president, this administration has caused so much division and I'm going to say this, and some people will agree, some people won't, but they have caused so much division that I don't think, no matter how this election turns out on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever we find out who it is for real, that it's going to make a difference with those relationships that have been fractured during this time. Now we say, and I say, during this time of the last 3.5 years. But if you look back, those relationships were fractured the 8 previous years to the 3.5 we've been in. And the reason I said those relationships were already fractured is because a lot of the people who choose to support this administration at this time didn't agree with the 8 years of the past administration. However, they were very cognizant of how they expressed how they felt because it was a man of color. Now, I'm not saying everybody. I mean, you've seen the little idiosyncrasies with the pictures of monkeys and all these different things that they did talking about President Obama. But it was fractured at that time because there were so many seeds being sown at that time of distrust, not because of who was in office, but because of what the person in office looked like, that it has continued to roll down that line. And the same person who sowed those seeds of doubt, or was part of the people who sowed those seeds of doubt, and the obstruction of the Mitch McConnell and the Lindsey Graham and all the things that government was supposed to do that they wouldn't allow the president administration to do for 8 years, has come to fruition at this point here. And the reason it's come to the fruition at this point here is because those of us who identified and seen how they treated the last president can't see how people can support a president that goes totally against what we know to be an upstanding citizen as far as what we've seen in our eyes. There's so much disdain for the past president that this president can do and say what he wants at any time that he wants, and people give him license to do it when they support him because they say that's just who he is as a businessman. But let's eliminate the business part and let's look at it as just being a man of your word, a man of integrity, a man of character. And when you do that analysis of this president compared to the 8 years of the past president, and you can sit and say and honestly believe that this man has any type of character, any type of empathy towards anyone other than himself and who can do something for them and his family, then you've lost the mark way before this election. It's deep-seated, it's deep-rooted, and the biggest problem with it is no one wants to admit that this is what it's all about. All you have to do is listen to what they're saying now with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, both 70-some-year-old white men. And they don't concentrate on the white man who is the vice president now, but they concentrate on the black woman, Indian woman, who could become president if something happens to Joe Biden, if he becomes president. It's not about the policies. It's not about what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. It's the fear. It's putting fear in place that this black Indian woman should not, and by any means necessary, we will not allow her to be the first female president of this United States. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the fear tactics play on people's racisms, any isms you can think about. This is what it plays on. This is why this country, as much as we said we were ready and they were ready for a black president when Barack Obama was elected, was nowhere close. And it's not the fact that everyone was not comfortable. But the powers that be, who felt that they have a right to make decisions for everyone in this country because they feel as though it's their country and their country only, that's why we don't have that sense of camaraderie, the sense of fellowship, the sense of us being a nation and all of us being in this nation as one unit, no matter what our differences are, to be able to coexist here, no matter what. There's this fear that as time goes on, that the white man and white woman will become extinct because of the interracial relationships that we have, the immigration that happens at both sides of the border, all four sides of the border. Let's just be real about it. But the main concentration is the southern border. If you really look at it, you really pay attention, and you open your eyes and take out all the other equations, look at who, not the ones that are being fearful, but the ones that are influencing the fear mongering. The fear mongering comes from not the fear of you doing something that they don't like, but the fear that they won't be in control, as they always reckon back to the forefathers. That's exactly where we're at. Anyone who really sits, thinks, pays attention, and reads, the writing is so blatant. The actions are so blatant that we see it, we understand it, but for years and years and years, we chose to ignore it. Why? Because it wasn't directly affecting us at that time. Now, Truth Tuesday. Truth Tuesday. And when Truth Tuesday comes around, whatever the outcome may be, all I'm going to tell you is be prepared. Be prepared. Not for the instant things of what's going to happen. Because you have to remember this. If this president doesn't get reelected, he still has up until January 20th to do whatever he chooses to do. If he is reelected, then you have 4 years to prepare yourself daily. Because whatever's happening these first 4, for me and my vision, is only scratching the surface of what is to come. We're in a sad state, y'all. We're in a sad state. And when I say we're in a sad state, I'm not saying it in the fact of, as I said, to put the fear in anyone. But you have to understand, though you may not carry the weight of fear because of your faith and your belief, you cannot dictate and you cannot expect those who do carry that fear to do anything in your best interest, because they become into survival mode. And when you come into survival mode, you will do anything to make sure that you prevail at what you want. We've all had to endure that at one time. When you go into survival mode, it becomes by any means necessary. That's where this election is. That's where we are as a country. That's where we are as the world. Because what happens here influences and impacts the entire world we live in. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. I know it got a little deep there for y'all, but this is something that we need to be really paying attention to. And I hope and I pray that when people went to the polls, they didn't just concentrate on that first box. When they went down that ballot, they went down that ballot for each and every individual on that ballot. Because what we do is we get caught up in the wrong things rather than concentrating on the bigger picture. The bigger picture. Truth Tuesday, y'all. Truth Tuesday. I know everybody will probably be glued to the TV. Everybody be listening to what's going on, trying to hear the tallies, find out who won, when, where, and why. What I would tell you, if and when you decide to watch, do not allow yourself to get in the point of having that anxiety of the unknown. Prepare yourself not only for the good, but for the bad. And as long as you're prepared on that day, you will be mentally prepared for anything that comes at you going forward. This is something that we all need to pay attention to. This is something that we all need to be cognizant of. This is something we all need to make sure that we are integrated with our families, understanding where our families are, understanding their well-being, and understanding what we need to do going forward, no matter who may be elected into this presidency, the Senate, the Congress, the judges, all across the board. The fear is real. The fear is real for some folk. Next week, we'll be back. Episode 22, baby. I appreciate everybody's support. Hey, reach out to some of your friends, family. Let them know what we're doing over here with the Speak on the Show. Get them to tune in, support the show. We're trying to make this a movement, trying to give you information that you really need. And next week, after the election, will be the last day that we really need to talk about the election. We getting ready to get into some life-changing conversations, y'all. We getting ready to get into some things about life, some things about love, relationships. I'm getting ready to touch on it all. We're going to get back to what the Speak on the Show was developed for, what my vision was for it. This right here, what we've been doing over these last couple months since we got back on about the election, was necessary information for the time. Now, after next week, we'll touch on the election. But after that, we're transitioning and getting back to what we need to know about ourselves, how we need to improve ourselves. And we will still be touching on some of the things that are going on, because there's certain things in the world that we need to be aware of. But we're going to be touching on working on us from the inside out, working on our soul, working on our spirit, working on our mental well-being, because that's how you make it through every trial and tribulation that may come your way. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I said, merchandise website, go there, check it out. Like I said, get other people to tune in and listen. We're going to have conversations, and guests are coming. I got guests coming, and we're going to have some good conversations about what's going on in this world as individuals rather than the political landscape that we've been concentrating on. As I always say, before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, during these times, most definitely, keep your faith in God. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all on the radio next week. Holla at me. Peace.